very minor or proposing very minor amendments to the bill that basically relate to issues of governance, like the areas where we in the board, it is proposed that there shall be 5 individuals. Mr. Speaker shall be proposing that, of course, that we have a gender balance and an age balance. Unfortunately, for some of us here, I think we need to ensure that the younger people are the majority, more particularly perhaps the Gen Zs should be the majority. And Mr. Speaker, first, because they are very technologically savvy more than us, but also it would also help in job promotion because we saw part of the challenges that we are facing as a country is the youth bulge that is very evident, especially because of the issue of lack of jobs and other few other governance issues, really. Um, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say that technology is the present and it's also the future. And any country that does not invest its technology will be overtaken um, in the world or in the global economy. Mr. Speaker, I remember when I was just doing my university the other day, when I was doing my dissertation, and I hand wrote my dissertation. I'm very good at using technology, but I hand wrote my dissertation. And somebody stole my luggage in an Akamba bus on my way from Homa Bay to Nairobi, and it was an entire handwritten document. You can imagine how stressed I was. And I had 2 weeks to submit. There's no backup. So I had to sit and research afresh. And what I remember is not just that, but I remember that when I was sitting, one of my good friends, Njeri Mwangi, who works at the Office of the Attorney General, introduced me to her sister, who she told us, you know, my sister knows how to use a computer. You can imagine, in my time, she told me my sister knows how to use a computer. So we went to her office, I think was in Amref or something, over the weekend because she was helping me to type so that we don't lose the document again. And when we were sitting there, Mr. Speaker, I was perplexed. Something was coming through a machine. And I went back to my cousin who was so knowledgeable. He was always ahead of us, called Felix Ochieng, who went to Lenana School. Even though Alliance likes pretending that they know, but Lenana School sometimes is way ahead of them on a few things. Mr. Speaker, I went to my cousin Felix and asked him, I was in this office and there was something coming out of my machine. And he told me it's called a fax machine. Again, in my age and time. Now fax machines are obsolete, almost obsolete, I think. I don't see who uses them anymore. But in this lifetime, so much has changed that I can hardly keep up. And that is why, as a country, if we can't move with the same speed that everybody else is moving, then we are actually going raised. That you consider, especially the issues that have been raised by Mr. Honorable Wundo, so that we build on it. Mr. Speaker, some of the issues that this is going to do is to create jobs. I am launching my book called Rig or Be Rigged on the 1st of October, on Tuesday next week. And one of the things that I was doing as I'm organizing around this is just, I'm amazed at the level of technology around just launching my book. And I'm just sitting back and marveling at all these young people. And interestingly now, I can no longer use people who are, I hardly use people in their 40s or 30s. I have early 20s and 18s. Yeah, the Gen Zs. Because realize we are very boring and old and irrelevant. But what I loved also is that the way to make money. You would be shocked, Mr. Speaker, the simple things that I see, and I think they don't take much, which is called content creation and all that. How much the young people are charging. Maybe I'm charged more because I'm an MP, I don't know. But at least I am happy that jobs are being created. And if you can, one of the things that are raised around the Gen Z revolution was that we need to formalize this sector, and what is being done with this bill is also trying to do that, and I thank the committee. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that I love is that it would also be setting up a technopolice. And I watch Crime and Investigation Network a lot, technology, and issues of sexual and gender-based violence are increasingly becoming too many. Some perpetrated by the children against themselves, they are still crimes. Like I think I reported here on the floor of the House about a case where not university, high school students in uniform are having sex with each other, and it's being filmed online. We are seeing children having sex in swimming pools, and it is being shared online. Mr. Speaker, I want to link it with the issue of mental health. And I'd want to encourage the committee that part of the things that you need to do here is link technology as part of the negative spin-offs that Honorable Wundo was talking about. How do we link this? When you are young, you are very foolish. We were also young in our ages, even though we didn't do the things that now the younger ones are doing. But we made mistakes that are correctable because there was no technology to see. Some people stole here in their high school. There was no technology to cover. People did many funny things. Nobody covered. But now in technology, it is covered and it is being circulated. Recently, there's a lady who was buried in one of the areas in Luolan called Achieng, and her case went viral. Why? Because everybody was attacking Achieng at the funeral, and her children were seated there with their schoolmates, and they were calling that woman names. And it is good they are talking to a dead body who couldn't hear them. But there were young people seated here listening to them. How do you address those kind of issues? So we must also not only look at the benefits, but the negative spin-offs of technology, and I'd hope that we can look at that as well. And then one of the things that I'd encourage this committee to look at, when I was younger, we said there were people who are illiterate, who didn't learn to read and write. Can you also consider Gumbaru in technology? And I'm semi-Gumbaru in technology because I am literate, but I'm not that literate. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't move with the speed that is required of us, Mr. Speaker, I'm telling you, we will be left totally behind by these young people. And so we need to learn, maybe not at their speed, but we must catch up. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand their language, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another issue where I would want us to look at this spin-off as well. Mr. Speaker, one day I spoke here about being a bad girl, and that has gone completely viral. All over the world, by the way, incidentally, America, whatever. I was recently in Ghana, and somebody walks up to me right at the airport and says, "Bad girl." I'm walking in the streets, "Bad girl." Technology. But that is not what worries me. I have discovered that, well, in terms of gender, majority of them are women. But young boys, 5 years old, young girls, 5 years old, walk up to me and tell me, "I know you from parliament. I follow what you do. I follow what you say." The speaker was asking me the other day, telling me, and the president told me, "Be a good girl." I will not listen to them, but I listen to the young ones, Mr. Speaker, because of technology. What I say in this house is affecting 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds. So not only is it going to affect us in terms of what we say, but can we find a way of controlling so that we don't mess up the minds of young people? I support.
I think it's a good time to hear from the member for Giduguri.
Mr. Speaker, I am glad that I've gotten this opportunity to contribute to this wonderful bill, and I want, from the onset, congratulate the chair of the committee that handles matters ICT in the National Assembly, the Honorable KJ, who I previously served with in the previous parliament in the same committee, a very informed member, and I'm sure the members of that committee appreciate that they have a talent in that committee. I participated in the making of this bill in the previous parliament in a way because I participated in the process of coming up with the idea behind Konza City Technopolis. Mr. Speaker, who knew or ever imagined that one time in the life of Kenyans would require oxygen? It only happened that during COVID, we all realized that we needed oxygen. Who knew that in the life of Kenyans, we would scamper for every available cylinder for oxygen? How many lives did we lose because we could not supply sufficient oxygen in hospitals, clinics, and dispensaries during COVID? I think that's an insight that we need to adopt from and start from. That whenever we are doing any planning in this country, we must give room to new ideas, innovations, and make sure that our structural design accommodates for such new ideas and innovations. Today, any person designing a hospital without accommodating or creating space for oxygen distillation, oxygen pumping, and gas and tanks for storage would actually be doing this country a lot of injustice. Anybody designing a hospital must consider how to put those structural requirements in place. Mr. Speaker, I am of the opinion that anybody designing a house, any form of a structure in this country, must be doing this country an injustice if we do not come up with a special room called technology room. Even in this parliament, on top of these galleries, we have technology rooms. And that is why we are able to adopt and move with the new technology year in, year out. Mr. Speaker, last parliament, we didn't have all these television screens we have here. We only had one. Now we have how many? About 7 or 8 in the room. And these are new jobs created, by the way, because these are all cameramen given new jobs to focus on parliamentary proceedings. What am I saying? I'm saying the idea of this technopolis moving from Konza centralized place to a decentralization program is a welcome idea. We must have a technopolis in every sub-county, if not every ward, so that in future, if we require to adopt, for example, we need to adopt the way we are covering our events using drones. If we need to accommodate such kind of technology that is coming and it's coming on in year out, we accommodate new technology. So I am just concerned that we are running now to take every available land that is left in our neighborhood. We are running to build markets and affordable housing. Every other available space in our country, we are adopting new markets and affordable houses. And I'm wondering, the land that was put specially for innovation in agriculture, for example, the land that was used for agricultural development cooperation, the ADC pieces of land that are available in Nyandarua, available in Nyeri, available in Kiambu, we are running there to build affordable houses, forgetting that we may need those pieces of land for the new technology innovation that is coming. I was telling my brother KJ that right now we are floating in an era called the new information age era, where models of technology are being adopted, new telephony is happening, we are moving from the old age to new age. When we all run to our land and occupy on affordable houses and markets, what will happen tomorrow if we have another COVID of a new nature that require us to have, for example, rescue centers, more rescue centers? What will happen? Where will we go? What will you use? So I'm not fighting. I'm not here to say that affordable houses are not good. But of course, we cannot just grab every other land, take every other available space and occupy it with markets, forgetting that we are also moving technologically. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say all the pieces of land that were left for agricultural training center, the ATCs, every district, the so-called district in the old constitution, had an ATC, an agricultural training center. We should not run to transform that land from ATC to affordable housing. We should be thinking, what sort of a technology should we adopt so that we can help farmers marry with the new technology instead of abandoning the agricultural training centers and making them markets and affordable houses. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. And in fact, I advocate that every sub-county should have some space left for technopolis. In that technopolis, we should be able to use technology to help our farmers. Mr. Speaker, I'm just from my constituency in a place called Liuki, and I was meeting about 1,000 farmers, coffee farmers. And to my shock, that coffee factory is officially dead. Those are factories that used to help us to process our coffee, pulp our coffee, market our coffee. 1,000 farmers were crying to me as their member of parliament to assist them to revive that coffee factory. I asked in the group, who is here who can help us to revive this coffee factory? They nominated 3 young Gen Zs who have degrees in economics, degree in commerce, and a degree in agroeconomics. And they are in the village idle. We are crying that we have no money in our pockets. We are crying that our coffee have nowhere to be pulped or factory to operate, but our children with degrees are in the villages. Don't you think we need to think very critically? Something is not right with us. How do we educate people with degrees and then we collapse the factories where we are supposed to be employing them? So I have engaged myself in the meeting with the farmers, and we have agreed that we are going to even fundraise. If we cannot get money from government, we are going to fundraise to make sure that we revive that coffee factory. But Mr. Speaker, that is not where I am. I am saying I wish this Technopolis Center, one of them, would be brought to Liuki village. And that Liuki village, there are so many learned young people, Gen Zs, who are ready and ably equipped by the government of Kenya, and they have papers to work in such kind of centers. So I appreciate the idea. I appreciate the ideology. I welcome the thoughts that we can actually decentralize Technopolis from Konza to even my village in Githunguri. And how I can't wait to see us thinking in a manner of how we can be able to use technology even to cure the existing economic problems we have. Mr. Speaker, about 2 months ago, I traveled to native Italy. Native, that means the very interior places of Italy. And I realized that the generations of the early 60s, 40s, 60s, built their houses, and every house had a bunker. Every house has a bunker. You know, the underground bunker. Because they built and designed their houses ready for war. Those bunkers helped them so much and keeps helping them even now during winter. Those are the bunkers that they use to store their wheat during winter, and they secure their food. Unfortunately, majority of the young population in Italy have moved from the villages to the towns. So the native Italy villages are abandoned. But there are still bunkers being used to store food, even for export market. People who designed those houses were ready for a sanctuary. They were planning for a sanctuary existence. Technopolis ideas of Kenya, what we are reading from this bill, it is our planning for a century to come. And we must accommodate Technopolis in every village if we can. I support. Thank you very much.
I'll say it, no for Kaiti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me opportunity to contribute to this important bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I give my contribution, I also want to thank the committee through the chair, KJ. We used to be in the same committee last parliament of ICT, and with Wamushomba, and I also contribute. I can say I'm proud of this bill because I know I'm a part of a contributor. We are the pioneers of this bill, Mr. Speaker. And I want to support the committee for the good job they are doing. And I think, Mr. Speaker, technology is the way to go. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in the last parliament, we also amended a cybercrime bill, which, Mr. Speaker, helped Kenyans a lot, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's through technology, Mr. Speaker, whereby our youth are benefiting nowadays. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are no jobs in the country, and I can say that even through the technology, our young people, after the college, after the university, they make their own businesses. They make their own business through even TikTok. They make some contents and sell it in the platforms to create, improve their living standards, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying through technology. When I was sitting here, I was just remembering those years when you used to use the telecom, the big phones, whereby you used to call someone, you used to go to the nearest market, 10 kilometers away, to make a call to someone in Nairobi or into the city. But currently, through technology, Mr. Speaker, we have mobile phones whereby when you are working, you can make calls and even make business through the phone, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why this bill is very important, Mr. Speaker, when we go to technology, Mr. Speaker, just see that the technology in agriculture, Mr. Speaker. Through the new technology machines, we are improving in our agriculture in our country. And Mr. Speaker, is through this whereby parents, even in the villages, they can use the new technology, Mr. Speaker, and afford to improve their living standards, and they are